Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's doing great tonight. We have an awesome special guest for y'all tonight, Mr. Gene Sticco. If you don't know him, he has been a guest on the podcast in the past. He is actually announcing his official candidacy in 2024 national elections for president. So before we get there, let me introduce myself. I am the Vice President-elect JD, and the real boss to my right is Kat, my beautiful wife.
The Commander-in-Chief, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, bastard. Yes, Kat.
I wear the pants after I wash and dry and fold them.
You've never washed pants.
Whatever. So yeah, make sure you stick around. He is a presidential candidate, but this is a show about dick and fart jokes, so please expect dick and fart jokes.
It's about going to a bar stool and getting to know someone. So don't expect us to get too freaking serious because it is us. So
yeah, we just want you to get to know the guy, ask him some questions. We're not going to get any political debates, whether you agree or disagree with his stances. We just want to get to know him as a person.
Fact, we don't even care how ridiculous your questions are. Go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll ask him. If he answers, great. If he doesn't, what the hell?
That being said, if you are watching live on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Give them permission to see your name. That's all we can see. Facebook does not get any other permissions. I know they do some shady shit sometimes, but that is all they can do. But we definitely want to know who's talking to us so that we can relay those questions to Gene. Tonight we are going to be drinking what is called a what's crack-a-lackin'?
We just made it up.
I'm in a pirate mood tonight, so I wanted some fucking pirate rum.
Yeah.
So
all right, give it to us, JD. So we're gonna start with some ice.
Yep, you're gonna start with
frozen H2O.
Yes. Frozen H2O. Make sure it's frozen.
Yeah, if it's not frozen, it's not really ice. I didn't know if you knew. Look, you put the fat one on the bottom.
I know it happens.
Damn it. Fat bottom girls right here.
Fat bottom dice.
Fat bottom.
So you're going to start off with 1.5 ounces of Kraken rum. It's great stuff, especially if you like rum.
Especially if you like rum.
You come here for the deep
deep
thoughts.
Like the Kraken. Is that the one I kept stealing from you? Let me see.
That's one of the ones you kept stealing from me.
Yeah, that is one of the ones I keep stealing from him.
You're going to do 1/2 ounce of cherry schnapps on top of that.
It's not cherry schnapps. It's sour cherry liqueur. But either way, it works.
Cherry schnapps.
Sour cherry schnapps. Shut up.
You're going to use lemon lime soda on top of that. That's what this is. It's not Sprite. It's not 7-Up. It is HEB brand lemon lime soda.
HEB now not a sponsor.
Yeah, none of these are sponsors. We'll get to those in just a moment. Boom. It's so pretty.
And that's what we go for in this show. Pretty.
That's what I went for her.
JD doesn't have to be smart because he's good looking. That's how this works.
No, I just keep her drunk so she thinks I'm good looking.
Is that what it is?
That's the whole thing. Okay. And then we're going to use some of Kat's ridiculously expensive maraschino cherries.
$20 a jar. They're fucking, yeah.
That's why I said ridiculously expensive.
And every time we use those cherries, I'm going to say the same gosh darn thing. They're $20 freaking jar. Did you like the spoon? That's $5. Don't lick the spoon.
God damn right I licked the spoon.
Oh my God.
Salute.
Salute. Let's try this. While we're doing this, please go ahead and put in the comments what you're drinking and who's joining us tonight. Please.
So we got Mark with a K. We got Frank.
Whoa, fuck.
And we got somebody from Idaho. I don't know. It just says sup. Sup
from Idaho. That's what it says.
So right before we get into our sponsors, we are definitely trying to build our brand as far as Southpaw's Tales to the Barstool.
We want to sell out, people.
Yeah, we want to sell out.
Help us help you.
I would hate for this shit show to keep coming out of my pocket, and I would like for it to come out of YouTube's pocket and other people's. So we need you to share the Southpaw's Tales to the Barstool Facebook page, get people to join it, as well as our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over there. As soon as we get 5,000 people on the Facebook page and 1,000 people subscribed on YouTube, we are going to be giving away a ton of Southpaw's Tales from the Barstool swag and a brand new bottle of E.H. Taylor small batch whiskey. And if you know anything about whiskeys, you know how difficult this is to come by. This is on the black market. It sells for lots of dollars, lots of doll hairs.
JD said, I'm going to buy 2 of these bottles and I'm going to sell one and it's going to pay for both. He's drinking one and he's giving one to y'all. So you better fucking appreciate how much of our money he spent on that bottle.
So yeah, make sure that you share, get people to join, because if it doesn't happen soon, I'm drinking this bottle too, because I like my fucking whiskey.
Stop it. All right, and on to our sponsors.
So yeah, we're gonna go with our sponsors so that we can get presidential candidate Gene Sticco on the show.
Awesome. So you have it all bass-ackwards. You want me to
start
start
from
with
the
the
top.
top? All right, we're starting from the top. So we're starting with Quickstart Mortgage Group, powered by UMortgage. Oh my gosh, the way you have that worked out is gonna jack me up. Nathan Einkorn, sweet man, he's great, and he loves his veterans. He will help you out.
He loves his
You
whiskey.
need to contact him. Yes, he does. And in Einkorn at umortgage.com, 720-980-9988, or go on Facebook at Quickstart Mortgage Group, or Instagram, Colorado Mortgage Broker. So these guys are like amazing. So it's the convenience of online lending, only with better rates and a dedicated staff of highly trained mortgage brokers to make sure your mortgage process goes smoothly. So next we're going to go to 5x5 Brewing Company, our OG sponsor. What? From Mission, Texas, Battleborn, Texas bred. You can get a hold of them on facebook.com/5x5 Brewing. You can find their website at 5x5brewing.com. I'm jacking this up today. That's what's happening.
You want me to take over?
No, hell yeah. Fuck you. So co-founded by Army vet George Rice, with beers like the 40mm Stout, Burnett Bombshell, and Food Bar. It's no surprise this brewery is taking over the Texas market from the valley to the coast of Bend and actually going further. So ask your local bar, restaurant, grocer to start carrying 5x5 Brewing Company today. Awesome. See, I still made it through, even with you trying to jack me up. Next is OMOG Construction, Marine vet Seth Knox and Matt Anders, general contractor servicing the greater Houston, Texas area with a focus on concrete. No job too big or too small, from residential to commercial to industrial foundations and pads. What? OMOG Construction has you covered. You can get a hold of them at omogco.com, facebook.com/OMOGCO, or Instagram OMOGCO. So AMOCO.
That stands for one Mexican, one Wedo. And if you know anything about Spanish, Wedo is Spanish slang for white dude. So that's who owns it. One
Mexican, one white dude. Good for y'all. Good for you. It's quite the advertisement. And of course, we'd love to give a shout out to our editing and distribution company. That would be Knucklehead Media Group. So this is started by Marine veteran Stephen Colum, covering all of your podcasting and media needs, from audio and video editing to strategy planning to global online distribution. This professional team of experts takes your idea and makes it a reality while providing the knowledge and experience to help you grow your audience and reach. So you can get a hold of them at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Knucklehead MG for media.
No spaces, no dashes, no slashes.
Nope. Or you can go to knucklehead.agency. Good job.
So yeah, let's go ahead and bring on our guest, 2024 presidential candidate Gene Sticco. Welcome. How you doing, brother?
Hello, Gene.
All right. How are you? Good to be back. Cat, looking lovely as always.
Oh, thank you. This whole thing.
Yeah, I figured since we had a presidential candidate, I'd dress up in her
I had
coat.
to wear a fucking dress just to stand up to this guy wearing a Star Wars shirt and
Star
blazer.
Wars with the Empire and a coat with the president. I mean, it makes sense.
I think he wants to be your running mate. I think that's what he wants to.
Oh no, we don't need my skeletons dug up. No.
Yeah, I mean, we have to make sure whoever the running mate is not only qualified to take over, but certainly ready to take over, because I'm sure there will be a lot of people who are not happy should I actually pull this off and make it to the White House.
That would be awesome, though. I mean,
by comparison, I think we're all qualified here.
Yeah, you do. You've openly talked about doing gay chicken, so you're ready for that White House, buddy.
No, not only have I played gay chicken, I never lost gay chicken. Because God damn it, I am not a quitter.
But it's funny. I had a friend of mine. She's from France, and when she found out about this, she's like, there was a comedian. She said, a guy who wasn't well known in France, but sort of average guy. decided to run for president, and a lot of people really liked what he had to say, and he became quite popular. She goes, and then he got shot. Somebody killed him. And I'm sitting there listening. She goes, I don't know why I just told you that.
Oh my God. You're like, hey, if I get snuffed out, it's his.
Well,
like in
I
pursuit
said
of
the
making
one
this country better.
right. I said, well, the one difference is I know how to shoot back. So
That's true. So that's helpful. So gun control against.
that's right.
So just like we've done with every other business owner, industry leader, anything like that, we give anybody the first 3 minutes to talk about what they're actually doing. So we're going to give you 3 minutes for the serious stuff. After that, it's all tongue in cheek. We definitely, for anybody that's watching, we definitely don't want anything that might derail his campaign, be used as sound bits.
Let's derail that bitch.
Or fuck it.
Listen,
Like
right?
we all know that politics can get pretty heated. We live in a day and age to where people will hate each other because of a D and an R, and we don't want that here tonight. We're just here for have fun. We're here to get to know Gene as a person, not as a politician. But go ahead and give your 3 minute spiel of what you're here for, what you stand for.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So this is a journey that started. I'm a retired guy, and I retired, as you know, out of government service, military, government contract, and private industry. And looking at where we're at now as a country, and just like you just said, JD, there's so much divisiveness and there's so much talk about need for unity. We're at a point now where we know we don't like the game of politics. We know we demand more than the game of politics, yet we still accept it. And I decided I'm going to put myself forward as a write-in / independent candidate for the presidency in 2024. And I'm really going to have a campaign that's focused on resolving issues, on bringing government back to being service focused for the people.
You.
And really focused on getting things done that make sense, that are reasonable and realistic. And like you said, you don't want a soundbite that's going to derail the campaign. And it's funny because that's the thing. Nobody who says anything reasonable and realistic makes news anymore, and that's part of the problem. What we're hearing aren't solutions. If we are supposed to believe what we hear from politicians, like you said, then sometimes they say things that we all know sitting around, talking to one another. They say it like it's a big surprise. So, they either underestimate how much we do know and how much we do understand what's going on, or they really think they're fooling us. And, my effort here is a grassroots campaign that gives a different choice, that maybe starts to send more of that message that we're just don't want politics as usual anymore.
So there are so many really, really hot topics as far as abortion, borders, inflation, all this other stuff. What is your stance on balloons?
The fuck? Like what balloons? Like the Chinese balloon,
right? Chinese
or just
balloons,
like random birthday party balloons?
Balloons in sewers.
Seriously, that's what you wanted to ask a fucking presidential candidate?
Oh, don't worry, they only get worse from here.
Because you could be talking about balloons at people's butt. That's just a really bad question.
So here's my assessment of the whole balloon situation. Do I think it needed to be shot out of the sky? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. From day one. Did it pose a significant threat? Listen, what's probably being done on the ground inside organizations, inside even government organizations by people that are inserted in there is a lot worse. What is it? What was the balloon? The balloon was political theater. It was political theater by the Chinese. It was political theater by the press, political theater by the administration.
Gene, is that going to be your next big opera? Is like
political theater?
The balloon in the sky?
It could be.
Political theater. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the opera, the operas are all about emotions. So we would have to find, would have to focus on the emotion of the pilot going to shoot it down, the drama of the decisions. Do we take it out or do we let it?
The comedy of the war room.
The comedy of the war room. I mean,
watching a fucking balloon in the sky.
It's a tragic comedy.
Oh my God, that's
Our-
awesome.
Our
No,
But
I
I-
want to hit. I want the hard hitting political stances. Like, where do you stand on pineapple on pizza? Like, where do you stand on that?
Love it.
Yes, thank you.
Love
You've
it.
got my vote.
You lost
got
mine.
my vote.
You lost my
I
vote.
want a pin.
Yeah,
I want
you
a
got it.
pin.
You got it. I'm going to send you an extra. Pineapple, is it a traditional Italian, cuisine? No, I mean, I like the sweet and savory. I think the acidity works off of the between the sauce and the pineapple itself. I think it's got a little bit of everything, so I'm all for it, especially with some ham on it. Get that proper Hawaiian pizza.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first.
I had so much faith in you.
Stop it. Stop it. What? You asked him of balloons. That was your first question? Really?
It just bleh.
Popped,
It was verbal
just
diarrhea.
popped to mind.
So
Well, we didn't even ask him like the most political. So the most political thing we talked about in this show, and it's ridiculous, is whether like you're like, what is it that we talk about with dudes? If you stand up to wipe or you sit down while you're wiping.
oh yeah, are you a standard
And
wiper or a
apparently
sitter wiper?
that is like a huge debate.
It's a 50-50 from our polls.
Really?
Yeah. Like I didn't even know that dude still stood up like once
To
you got
wipe.
once you got past a
Wipe?
certain age.
Guys stand up to wipe?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess they stand up and they bend over and
I don't know.
yeah, I don't understand it all,
We
but
don't understand.
apparently
it.
there's
But clearly you're a sit down wiper, and we appreciate that about you.
Well, I don't get why would you need that? Just seems logistically ridiculous.
you clinch when you stand up, so I don't get it. I don't know. I have a big ass though. Maybe they have no ass and it's split
I have
open
no
and-
ass and I sit to wipe.
I mean, it just seems like a lot of unnecessary work. You've got to get up, then you've got to balance your never. I mean, that's assuming you've got a bathroom with enough space. I mean, I've got a pretty small second floor bathroom. We're in a sort of Cape Cod style home, so I don't have a lot of room to be flailing about, reaching.
What is your
flailing
wiping?
about.
Wait, what does your wiping look like? Where you have to describe it as flailing? You're like,
You like wax on,
Pretty
wax off
thorough.
there?
pretty thorough.
What about bidets?
yeah. I've never used a bidet, so I don't know.
I've used the bidet. I mean, it's I guess it's all right. It's good. It's a little weird at first.
Just
I
at
had-
first.
Well, you know what it is. It's that whole thing. So the cleanliness of it is wonderful, especially if you get a nice warm stream. That can be quite enjoyable.
Oh, really?
But then you've got that. Then you still have to sort of dry off, and you've got that wet toilet paper now in your hand, and
Exactly.
you're there, and you're like, just something around it just doesn't kind of feel right.
And then you take the whole Star Trek approach where you got Klingons in there and it's paper, not
Yeah.
no.
It's better than Demolition Man and having scraping your asshole with seashells. You know what? Actually, the most pro bidet argument I ever heard, and I was debating with somebody, and I wish to God I could remember who it was, but their stance was, okay, put your hands in a pile of dog shit, and then just wipe them off with paper towels. Is that clean, or do you wash your hands? And I'm like, yeah, that actually makes sense,
Right.
Because you're actually rinsing the shit off instead of just
No, I
scrape it off
mean,
with paper.
from health, cleanliness, from people will tell you, it prevents hemorrhoids and all the rest of it. There's all sorts of health benefits to it. I guess it's just one of those things you have to really have a plan to use it, and we don't normally have them around here. Living in Europe, there was always one, and every now and then I'd be like, oh, let me give this thing a shot. And
So we have our first questions from the audience. Our first one is, do you check the toilet paper after wiping? Obviously. And the second one is, ask him if he uses toilet paper or flushable wipes. I'm so glad you're on this show right now.
These are the hard-hitting questions that America wants to know.
Yeah, so I mean, on a day-to-day basis, just regular toilet paper. I mean, you know, I like something sort of quilted and fluffy. But you know, on the road when I traveled, when I was traveling a lot, always the flushable wipes. Always had those with me.
Oh, wipes are awesome.
Yeah.
It is so refreshing.
I keep well, I don't have flushable wipes in the house, but we've always had a plethora of baby wipes in the house. That's for sure. So because
you know, any time on deployment, baby wipes they're gold. They're worth almost as much as cigarettes and dip.
Yep.
Like it's crazy what you can barter for some baby wipes.
Cigarettes and ladies.
All right. So what is your opinion on executive power? And I'm leading somewhere with this. But
oh no.
What's my opinion on executive power?
So if you were elected president, there's been a lot of the last 3 presidents, including the sitting one right now, have been all just chastised for how much they used executive power, regardless how much it is. But what is your opinion on that? Because I have a question to ask you after you answer.
Oh no.
Yeah, sure. So I think particularly looking at the last 3 administrations, it's definitely gone above and beyond what its intended purpose would be. So I think it is a valuable tool for the right circumstances, but it's not a magic wand to start imposing your will.
Sounds great.
Pretty classy fucking answer.
Can't impose your will. Why? Because something tells me you want to impose your will against me.
I do.
Oh, great. Here we go.
And I'm hoping to sway the future president's support here. Okay. So I don't know about you or you other gentlemen that are watching. Before I put underwear on, I kind of like just give a once over.
Oh my God, you are not bringing this up.
And make sure that there's no holes, rips, tears, anything like that. And if there is, I discard them.
Clean,
so I can replace them with new ones. And over the course of about 4 or 5, 6 months, I keep throwing away underwear. I'm like, God damn, why are all my underwear getting holy and raggedy? I just bought these motherfuckers. It's pissing me off. Like, it's literally like upsetting me. And I grab a pair and I walk into the bathroom. She's getting ready. I'm just like visibly distraught, just like, why am I throwing away so much fucking underwear?
And I
throw it in the can and she is dying laughing.
And I was like, you're not throwing away all of these underwear, sweetie. You're throwing away the same pair of underwear. Every time he threw them away, I'd fold them back up and put them back in his drawer. And I was doing it for about 6 or 8 months. And it was awesome.
It was, oh my God, it was so frustrating.
The same fucking pair. And every time he pulls them out, and he's like, what the fuck? I just die every time. Our son was in on it. It was just amazing. Like, hey, mommy threw those underwear away again. I'm like, I'm on it. I'm running in there, folding them back up, putting them back in the drawer.
So if you become president, is there any way I could sway you to use the executive order to make it a federal offense to negatively tamper with a man's underwear or skivvies, undergarments, whatever you want to classify them as?
I don't think I negatively tampered with them. What your ass did to them before I brought them out
that
of the
was fucking with my mental health.
Was tampering.
That is mental abuse. That's elderly abuse.
Wow.
I think the bigger question here is, why are you so boring with your underwear that you only have one type, that you can't tell the difference?
I have all kinds.
He's lying. They're all the same, just different shades of blue.
Just different shades, right? That's what I'm saying. You have to have a good mix.
I mean, I don't have any speed. I've got the
exactly.
I got like the stretchy workout ones that wick moisture. Then I've got the regular Hanes and Fruit of the Looms. I got the ones that cup your nuts and keep your nuts and your twigs and berries separate. And what's that?
They're all blue.
Not all
Most
of
of
them.
Same
them.
color.
They're blue,
He's
black,
got
gray.
a pair of Nutcracker ones, which are real funny.
I've got a couple Star Wars ones. I've got some.
But for the most part, yes, they're all
But
like
also,
boxer blue.
I
boxer
do
briefs.
kind of I do kind of buy the cheap ones because underwear are fucking expensive for what they are.
Yes.
Like I can't justify spending $14-15 for a pair. Like if you were to get the really nice like name
Yeah,
brand
that's
ones.
what you should
I
do.
think it's a good investment. I think that's one of the best investments. You know,
Underwear?
I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat that comfort of a good pair of drawers.
I tell you what, if I won the lottery, I would never wear the same pair of socks twice. There's nothing better than a brand new pair of
Oh,
socks.
yeah. Very true.
Just
Very
real quick, if you are watching on Facebook, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook. Give them permission to see your name so we can see who's talking. Otherwise, we just see Facebook user. We don't know if it's one person commenting repeatedly or multiple people commenting. It just helps us keep it clear, especially with our guests. We want him to keep it clear as well.
Well,
Or-
one of our
or
Facebook
basically, I'm just gonna be
users
like-
said, "Get brown ones so you can't see the skid marks."
Well, yeah, that's
That's why he uses the wipies. So he
That's
wants
right,
the
right,
skid
that's
marks.
Right,
Nice
we're so
callback
interested
there.
in the
Nice
bidet,
callback.
the bidet and the flushables and all of that.
Did you not hear? Did you not hear?
it's funny that we always say that our show is filled with toilet humor, and tonight it's literally
Literally filled with
Toilet
toilet
humor.
humor. That is,
All right.
this is terrible.
So-
Absolutely terrible.
But these are the
Oh.
issues that affect all Americans, JD.
Because it's the
absolutely.
great equalizer. The
Every-
toilet is the great equalizer.
So I
That's
never
right.
got the answer though. Would you use use your mighty pin to keep women from fucking with my underwear?
No,
Damn
Thank
it.
you.
sounds like a state issue.
Okay, as much as I hate your answer, I love that answer. That's the whole 10th Amendment thing.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Hey, you don't want me touching your underwear? Fine. I'll sign a contract saying I won't touch your underwear. But that means even in the good parts.
That's right.
No, you don't have to touch my underwear. I can take them fuckers off. Boom. Modern problems, modern solutions.
There we
So
go.
No.
you were kind of telling us before we went live how you went from you were in the Air Force, you were CIA, now you're an opera aficionado, you write operas, act in operas, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, I don't act in them.
You don't act. I've
I'm
seen
mainly
I've seen
behind
your
the
pictures
scenes.
and stuff where you're all in costume and stuff. I just assumed you acted.
It's a tuxedo. That's not a costume.
That's a fucking
Oh
costume.
my gosh, you saw him in a tuxedo and you thought it was a
That's
costume?
a white tie,
Yeah.
white tie and tails. That's
Yeah,
not
that's-
a costume.
JD's worn a tuxedo
Yeah, I'm
once and it
classy.
was to get married.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's no. I think I
Yeah.
wore one to like my 7th grade prom.
You wore the same thing to your 7th grade prom you wore to marry me?
I mean, it was different colors, but it's still a tux.
God,
Come on now.
me
Good
again.
Lord.
So
So yes, so my costume.
to get back on track, how do you go from that to being a seriously running for president? I mean, that's a huge step. I mean, I'm sure it can't be inexpensive to even attempt to do that just to get your name on a ballot.
Well, yeah, you know what? In an interesting sort of way, it's all kind of aligned because, like you said, military service, the going into the private sector, going into the government contracting, and even from retiring and going into the opera industry, and so now what we've done from the end of last year is I've started an opera company here in the greater Boston area as a nonprofit. But all of those things are really about service. And even with the opera company, part of the reason for starting it is to create more opportunities for brilliant artists that we know and have met and have worked with, through my wife Natalia's journey, the future First Lady's journey, and trying to find ways to give people a voice. And even with the audience, we talk about opera not in the sense of we expect you to sit back and have it blasted in your car and be rocking out to it, but in the sense that it's an opportunity to step back, recalibrate your emotions a little bit, even indulge, if you want to call it that, in something artistic, in doing something where you're being intentional in a moment for the purpose of recalibrating, for the purpose of stepping back and enjoying something, and allowing allowing yourself some space, and then furthering that on to say, now go pursue your own passions. Go and do whatever it is that you are passionate about, whatever it is that you feel you want to live your life more creatively. That's what we're trying to do, with opera. So how does that relate to the presidency? And this decision and wanting to be president, in the same way, I see what I want to do and my motivation and reasons behind it as being about getting America back into a service-minded attitude. Service, how the government serves people, encouraging people to be of service to their communities, encouraging those communities to be of service to their residents, right down the line. And I think in that way, the more we're able to communicate and talk about issues and resolving issues and all of these things in those terms, then we start getting away from the dialogue and the back and forth and just the pettiness that's really driven by people who are just trying to be career politicians.
Yeah.
And I had somebody ask this, well, why didn't you start for city council? Why didn't you, go to mayor and up governor and senator? I don't want to be a career politician. That's why I didn't start.
One and done and make your mark and move on.
I see where the need is. I mean, JD, we've, shot messages back and forth, with regards to Ukraine. And, I've done it with tons of people who, know my background and know I've been in those areas. And I look, just to use, Ukraine as an example, where, President Biden is on the news talking about, oh, well, what a surprise this is. And we can't believe it. Well, I knew it was going to happen for 20 years. I knew in 2017 that the next Democratic president of the United States was going to have to deal with the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So if I knew that, and it was a surprise to you, Joe Biden, who's been a politician for 40 years, again, either you're playing a game that we all know you're playing, and why are we going to allow that? Or you're legitimately surprised and incompetent.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a lose-lose scenario, though.
Yeah, maybe a
That's
little
it.
bit of both.
So I want to circle back just a little bit. You obviously have this passion for the opera. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your smile when you talk about it. Like it is, and that's where I was going. So, kind of like the chicken and egg scenario. What came first, your love for the opera, or did Natalia kind of drag you into that world?
Harvested in you.
And where did that come from?
Now you're gonna make me cry.
Oh, please,
let's hear it.
Yes.
So when I was in high school, so I went to an all boys private Catholic high school.
Oh no!
And I had a teacher. His name was Brother Bozzo, and he was my Italian teacher. And he would play opera. He'd play Turandot. We would listen to Turandot, and he'd talk about it. And I liked it. I thought it was great. I mean, it was really my first exposure to it. As a kid in the 80s, Pavarotti and all that. Bugs Bunny, right? Who hasn't had the buzz? And that's my number one thing with opera singers. I like to make them, do that, kill the wabbit and all that. So it's something I always liked. So yeah, a appreciation and enjoyment of opera came first. When I met Natalia, after we'd been together for a little while, and I was living over in Latvia, or I shouldn't say living, but spending a lot more time there. I'd stay, 3 months at a time. She had a friend who was appearing. He was the tenor, brilliant Russian tenor, and he was gonna be in Riga, and they were staging Turandot. And of course, then as I said, that was the first opera I ever became familiar with. And at right before, maybe within a week or so before we were going to see him there, the brother Bozzo, word had come out, been shared. He was hit in a hit and run near his house. He was out walking, hit by a car in a hit and run, and he was in the hospital. And the night before the show, he passed away. And I always say, it's moments like that, things happen for a reason. You're always in a spot for a reason. And do I, fancy myself that idea of that, it was, some sign specifically for me, or, specifically from him, or whatever. But going and sitting there and seeing that performance. And then, at the intermission, we went backstage, and the tenor was there, and I'm telling him the story, and he's in tears, and he's like, this is why I do this, and all of that. And so, when I talk about why do I talk about it so passionately and all of that, I think that's one of the main things about it, is that it's one of those unique art forms. I mean, I think we all have songs that take us back to a time and place. But
Absolutely.
I think the thing about opera is that it's so emotionally driven through the music and the lyrics that when you are taken back to that place, it's almost overwhelming, when that happens. So that whole experience, the time, the place, what happened with Brother Bozzo and meeting Nat in that time, I just kind of makes you say, I guess that's where I'm supposed to be. I guess this is what I'm supposed to be doing and supposed to be a part of at this point in my life. And, I think now, and I think that's good. I ran hard for a lot of years, ran risky for a lot of years, and all the rest. Like everybody, getting older, my legs don't go like they used to sometimes, hip problems, muscle problems, all of that. And so I say, well, this is probably what I'm now meant to do. Now part of the next chapter. And I think in the same way, getting inspired to put this message out there is, in what I want to do in running for president and all of that, is part of that journey too. It's time to sort of stop being a warrior and start bringing, the knowledge and experience that comes with life and comes with being a person of passion and service, and spreading that and spreading it as far as I can.
Damn it, Gene. That was freaking beautiful. That's
That
not
was.
what this show's about.
It was so great. Like you were talking about your teacher that turned you on to it. Actually, it was my freshman year, my biology teacher, Miss McQuilkin. It's one of those teachers that I will never forget. I've got the teachers I'll never forget. I can count on one hand.
Yep.
She's one of them. She's one of the first ones that really understood how I learned.
Yep.
And changed, and not just me, but like every student. She took the time to figure out how they learned and taught different ways. And then so she ended up just giving the biology book, said, here's all the assignments for the year or semester, have at it. And I'd just sit in the corner and do it, and I'd done way early, so then I just got to play on the computer. But she had a digital copy of Phantom of the Opera on her computer in the front of the class, and this is back in the day when there weren't computers at every desk. There was just one in the classroom, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I got to sit there with headphones and watch Phantom of the Opera, which I'd never, outside of being a band geek, I hadn't had any like actual opera influences ever.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
continue with the
Little
story.
Shop of Horrors, but besides that, and being able to watch that and just seeing how powerful not everything has to rhyme and not everything has to be make musical sense as far as theory and time and things like that, as far as your standard understandings of them. It kind of blew my mind. I love some opera. I don't get all of it. Like, I'm not cultured enough for all of it to make sense to me, but yeah. What you talked about, that teacher, I had kind of a similar experience with that.
Yeah, and and it's why I said, look, you put on the news, right? And you see a mother in a third world country holding her baby and screaming into the camera. Do you need a translation?
Nope.
No. And that's all opera is. I mean, though it's it's in another language, it's written in that way to convey emotions. And that's why we say it's a chance to, if you get past that and you just sort of look to experience the emotion of it, then it becomes an entirely different experience. But as I was saying, I don't know if you heard, Phantom of the Opera isn't really opera. And the one other thing I'll add, and we can move on, Andrea Bocelli. Are you familiar with Andrea Bocelli, the blind tenor who sings no, well, interesting. Most people if anything know Andrea Bocelli.
I don't know a lot of names. I know a lot of faces, and I can hear stuff, and I'm like, you tell me that, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So he does that Time to Say Goodbye with Sarah Brightman from Phantom of the Opera.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, that famous one. So he's a world famous Italian tenor. But in any event, for anyone that does know him, my standard joke is Andrea Bocelli is to opera what Olive Garden is to Italian cuisine. He's nice. Shit. He's good. It's perfectly acceptable. But in the same way, Phantom of the Opera is to opera what Olive Garden is to Italian cuisine. It's good, not exactly the same thing.
Damn.
Well, thanks for just making my anecdote fucking trash. I appreciate that, Gene.
Oh, they're gonna use that soundbite against Olive
I'm giving
Garden.
them that soundbite. Yep. So, CNN, I've got a story for you.
Olive Garden's gonna come after you
Mark
in the
Bocelli
political debate.
Mark Dudek loves Bocelli.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And he's good. He's good. He's acceptable. He's a nice experience.
Oh, that's
so
rude.
You already shot down my executive order that I brought up earlier.
Right.
How about this?
Oh, no.
If you got elected, can you make your public relations person that has to sit there and have the meetings with all the press every day with all the stupid questions, can you make them like it required for them to answer in song?
Whoa, good one.
Could do that. Freestyle.
Yeah, that would be so entertaining for everybody.
JD, that's a good job for you. JD be like, pack up your shit and get the fuck out.
But I do it in song.
Honestly, I would prefer having somebody who's who just comes out and says, I've already answered that question. Look, here's a soundbite for you. I do believe there are such things as stupid questions.
Boom.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Okay, when I cut this episode into reels, what time is it? It's 43 and a half minutes into the show. Okay.
Seriously?
No, I'm going to cut that, and that's going to be a soundbite.
That'll be a good one. I do believe there's so much such thing as stupid questions.
And then we'll we'll prequel it with your question about the underwear. And then
okay, I'm not that good. I'm not that good at editing, but if somebody watching or Knucklehead, if you feel like doing it.
Knucklehead Media, get on it, bitches.
Man. She says bitches lovingly, Knucklehead. We love you and all the work you do for us.
We love you, bitches. It's a term of endearment when I'm drinking. Ask my dad. I was calling my dad my bitch. It wasn't pretty.
It's hilarious.
It's
yeah, her dad, the Boy Scout, he's Eagle Scout,
tough,
SWAT
muscular
team,
dude, like
fire captain or fire chief, and then she calls him a bitch.
Only when I'm drunk, not intentionally.
So, man, we really haven't reached out to the audience too terribly much. If there is something that you want to ask, make sure you put it in the comments. It could be just like what I've been doing. It could be something that's
those weren't real questions.
Legitimate, whatever you want. I mean, he's running for president. He's gonna have the.
I got one. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Thank you.
All right, you won my vote back.
Yep.
Yeah, because even though Star Trek was first, Star Wars was better. And then Harry Potter was just a ripoff of Star Wars.
Oh, I love that bit. that comedian that
Oh,
breaks
yeah.
that all down.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense too. It's brilliant. Have you seen that before, Kat?
Nope.
There's a comedian. He's like, yeah, Harry Potter's just a ripoff of Star Wars. You have an orphan that's taken to his uncle by a bearded stranger, and then gets taken away by the same bearded stranger later on in life against his uncle's wishes, who never wants him to know any kind of magic.
Some kind
Has
of
a
weird magic. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a female lead that there's always a little bit of awkward tension to, but she goes for the scruffy friend. You know, the parallels
This
are
is stupid.
And he right, and he just says, what is it? Harry Potter's Star Wars with shitty lightsabers.
yeah.
How dare y'all?
It's true though. Mark asks, peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter and butter? Peanut butter and butter? Is that a thing?
I'll go with peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, man. Peanut butter and butter.
Okay,
Mark.
what's the ratio of peanut butter and jelly?
I tend to go heavier on the peanut butter.
Me too.
I'm a 50-50 guy.
Are you?
Yeah, I like a good even balance.
Yeah.
Now, crunchy or smooth?
Well, normally I would say crunchy, but I do have diverticulitis, so I have to go with smooth now
Aww.
to avoid having my intestines clogged.
Crest or no crest?
Oh, crust.
Crest.
I think my only argument against crunchy is that it tears the bread when you try to spread it. If it wasn't for that issue, I would have no problems with it.
I
Like
used to
toilet
love-
paper.
So we need a bidet that peanut butter. We need to get that.
And then Mark asks if you cut it up and down or diagonal, and
Oh,
diagonal. You
Diagonal.
get more sandwich if you cut it diagonal.
Right.
what?
It took you a second for that to catch up, didn't
Did
it?
you see my math? My mouthing was like carry
I
the
wish I
one.
had that
No.
effect with all those the shit from that. What was that
That just
fucking
means
movie?
I
Like all the
longer
physics symbols going around her head.
to figure that out. Where I was like, no.
Yes.
All right. What other important questions are there to ask? Actually, as a kid, I used to eat peanut butter and mayonnaise, and it's not bad.
Ew.
Nah.
Try it once.
No.
Just try it once. It's
Now I like butter and jelly. Like when I do a English muffin, I'll put a shitload of butter on there and then a shitload of strawberry preserves. I like
Mhm.
preserves rather than jelly. But
Because then it's the fruit chunks. Yeah,
the
man.
fruit,
I think
butter.
Fruit, the gnarly freaking fruit
Yeah.
chunks.
95% of cuisines can be improved with butter.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm only asking this because JD brought up his underwear, so I'm bringing up my underwear. Are you like a full coverage kind of gal? You like a thong kind of gal? Commando? Where are you going with it?
Well, you know what? I mean,
Boy shorts?
again, I'm open to all possibilities. I like the thong look. I also like the boy short look.
I like the boy short look too.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because
Those
I
are-
was like, I lost some weight, so I was wearing thongs more frequently. And I was like, hey, JD, do you like the fact that I'm wearing thongs? Like, do you like it? He goes, some of them. The fuck does that mean, some of them?
Some of them
Oh, I can explain
go
that.
around, like some of them accentuate the body right. Some of them don't.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just, or some are better than others as far as like just the hip rise, the way the cut is on them. And I think for any underwear, I think the cut around the hip is the most important part as far as the way it accentuates the hip to waist, because you got to be able to see that waist and hip part where it, that's
What?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree.
You gotta do that again. Do that one more time. The hip
The-
to yeah. So right there, that's mine. You're right.
yeah. 'Cause it's-
Is that
I married you for fucking
that
reason, all right?
Is that my proportions that you've just like memorized or something that you just did right there?
It's muscle memory.
He's like, why is my hand shaking? I gotta slap ass.
So we actually have a serious question. What
Yeah.
about changing the health insurance requirements and having to get their approval for treatments would he change this? So
Yeah, no, that's good. So healthcare is one of those things I thought a lot about, and how I would want to frame it. And for me, I think healthcare is a national security issue.
please elaborate on that, because that's
Our ability, as we saw with COVID, with the fallout from that, if we look at our military and the fact that I think they said only 20% of service eligible or service aged eligible um, young people are healthy enough to serve. If we look at mental health and gun control issues that go around that, there are a lot of important issues that healthcare touches on. And I think it needs to be reimagined as a matter of national security. That being said, what does that have to do with insurance? How do we pay for it? And that's the $1,000,000 question. I
Literally.
think there is a entire restructure that needs to be done about if we begin to look at healthcare as a national security issue, then that makes us relook at it on at every level of how it touches our lives. So what are we doing with it as far as education, as far as, right down to prenatal care, right down to, um, where was I going with that? Yeah, education, in schools and diet and health and meals and school meals and so forth. So it's going to take that sort of review and restructure to know what the business of healthcare begins to look like. So my personal preference would be that we're organized in such a way that you can go in, and I'll give a good example. Natalia was saying this, like in Latvia, there are some hospitals that are, there's only a few of them, but you can walk in there and you can say, I'd like to have everything done. I would like a complete workup, right? And it might cost $1,000 or whatever, but you'll stay there 2 or 3 days and they'll do x-rays and MRIs and they'll just do a complete once over and see what they find. And I think there's some value, to something like that. I think there's some value to having the freedom to walk in and say, this is, what I'd like to do and have checked, without going through what I think a lot of the healthcare system is now, which is, let me see how much I can milk you for out of it. So I'll give you a good example. When I was in at the VA, I had to have a nerve study done on my arm, and there were a bunch of interns with the VA doctor. And the VA doctor said, we're going to do this kind of test. And she told the interns, she said, we're going to do this test. Now, when you go to a civilian hospital, they're going to have you do 5 other tests that this one will do. And based on the symptoms, we know this is the right test. But a civilian hospital is going to have you do all these other ones so they can bill the insurance for it too. So that's the problem. So yes, so the short answer to that, would I change all of it? I would completely overhaul it, and I would completely have us begin looking at healthcare across the board, from that perspective that we need to have a long-term view of the health of all Americans, cradle to grave, as a matter of our ability to have our economy strong and active, have a strong defense, strong military. All of it's interrelated, and all of it ultimately begins and depends upon the health of the nation.
So follow up, just to 2 or 3 sentence or 2 or 3 word thing. What are you looking more generally privatized, just restructuring of insurance and what healthcare can bill as far as for different services stuff, or are you looking more public as far as taxpayer paid insurances?
I think it would be a
Privatized or
combination
public
of
or a combination?
Yeah, I think it would be a combination of all of that. So I think there's a certain, particularly when it comes to children and children's health care and all that. I think that's an investment in our future, and I think that's a smart investment to make sure our children are raised, physically and mentally healthy. Um, and then as you enter the workforce, we begin to look at those privatized insurance options. We begin to look more at and have systems to account for, the number of various needs people will have at those stages in their lives. So I think, it becomes a sort of progression, as it will. You sort of weave in and out of, public to private back into public support in your senior years, or particularly for people with disabilities and whatnot, that we make sure we're taking care of them. So
Yeah, as long as Congress doesn't borrow against the money we have set aside for that. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, keep
That-
digging, buddy.
It's factual.
So
That's what
we
Social
do-
Security and Medicaid were made for, but we're not going to get into that one.
Mark,
Yep.
Mark with the K. I'm moving on to get you off of that. Mark with the K actually said he got into the underwear debate and said he prefers them on the floor himself.
That is very valid.
Very
good.
clever, Mark. And then asked, what is Gene's position on doing away with income taxes like other countries?
Yeah, I think the idea that other countries don't have income tax is just fundamentally invalid. It comes out of somewhere. I lived 4 years in the Netherlands, for instance. I was there as an expatriate. I had a US based salary, and I had a Dutch based salary, and I had Dutch colleagues. Um, they didn't file yearly taxes, but their paycheck was taxed at something like 52%. But they had free healthcare. So, right there, it's just false that other countries don't have income tax requirements. They get it from you some way. They get it from
So-
you somewhere.
Follow up on that. What is your opinion on like a VAT tax or a flat tax as far as everything? And I'm just going to I'm not saying this number is the accurate number that it needs to be, but let's just say everything that you purchased had a 15% tax on it, but you weren't taxed to go to work. So I think it's fucking absurd to get taxed to go to work.
Yeah, no, I
understand taxes need to be paid.
But a
We
drug
need to
dealer
pay.
who's living off the government, it still has to buy a car. So.
And obviously people would pay their fair share, because if you go buy a $70 million yacht, you're paying 15% tax on that versus, somebody going and buying groceries, Similac and shit, they pay 15% on that, which Similac's overpriced, but regardless.
No, right. And I think, again, combination. So I'm all for a flat tax. I'm all for, no income or no federal tax on your salaries. And I think exactly, what you said. I would have more of a scaled system. So, I would essentially have, 0.5% on, basic necessities, let's say. And then, all the way up through, luxury goods, which you can tax it, 30%. If you're spending $1 million on something, what's another 300,000 to you then?
Yeah, I don't know how it is in other states. I know in Texas, like your normal groceries are non-taxable, like bread, butter, milk, things like that. I don't know how other states are, but that's how it is in Texas.
But everything is
But
taxed.
everything
Our
else,
income is taxed, our property is taxed, and then we're taxed on the goods we buy. So
then
it's kind of tax
on your cars, tax on shit you've already paid for, then tax to keep it, registered year and year and year.
And,
It's just
and
like,
if you're a whiskey drinker like us, there's also the sin tax.
oh yeah, the sin taxes.
Well,
Buy
look,
booze.
and you go stay in a hotel somewhere. I mean, even right here, we'll go stay in a hotel in downtown Boston. and you get your bill, right? And you know, it's broken down, and there's, you know, $1 for the convention center. I didn't go to the convention center. What am I freaking paying?
That's true.
I think
You
San
know,
Antonio has like a 14% hotel tax now.
Yeah,
yeah.
14%.
I mean,
For
you know,
downtown
rent a
hotels?
car. If you rent a car, right, you get your price up there, $193 for 5 days, and then there's $180 in fees, recovery fee, concession fee, convenience fee,
Yeah.
road fee. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, that's, I mean, you talk about predatory practices.
Mm-hmm.
That's a government predatory practice on people that are coming to your city to spend money in your city.
Yeah.
And you're preying on them because they need to rent a car, because they need to stay in a hotel. So, oh, we'll just charge everybody an extra buck just because they happen to be here.
It's the
Whereas,
American way.
right.
Gee.
Whereas, like I said, if it's, well, just like you said, Kat, you know, a drug dealer's still going to go buy a car.
Yeah, he is.
So
Probably a
let's-
better car than mine.
Yeah.
Right. So let's recover the money out of that, you know?
Yeah, man. Awesome.
So
Oh no.
say you're elected president.
Yes.
What is your stance on you cussing? Are you going to censor yourself, or is somebody needs to be told, hey, calm the fuck down?
Get the bleep button.
Are you going to tell them to calm the fuck down? Or are you just going to, or is it going to be like, let's say we're, the understanding is that the situation dictates.
You know,
certain-
you know what he's doing, right? He works in a steel mill, and he can tell
Right.
someone to shut the fuck up or chill the fuck out or call someone a derogatory name. And I work in what he calls the corporate world. I work at a hospital where we
Right.
have to censor ourselves. Why do you think you made the wrong decision? You know, how do you think you can improve the next time you're in this situation? You have to word it in a way that's constructive.
Like
and you
today, I
can't
told
tell
one of my
someone they're being
coworkers,
fucking stupid.
I told one of my coworkers today, I'm like, hey man, it's time to get to work. You tell me, bitch. That's
Yeah.
how we talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'd be some of that. I mean, I think I've always been, you know, in the corporate world and everything. I never held back on you know, colorful language to push a point. You know, am I looking to do it on the 6 o'clock news? Probably not. You know,
Don't be outrageous on Twitter. We see where that got that orange guy, so let's not do
Yeah,
that.
right, exactly. No, I think it's you know, that again, it's like I said, it's this
Good night,
idea that we say, oh well, you know, this and that isn't presidential and da 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 da. But we all know it's not real. Right? We all know that idea of acting presidential and speaking presidential and all the rest of it. We know it isn't real. We are critical that it's not real, yet we still demand it.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Why, you know, why? Why? And we get, I mean, in like the case with, you know, Trump and his very plain spokenness in a lot of ways, everybody jumps on it, but it's the most honest that you've heard a politician be, and the most true that they've been to themselves. And we're going to knock them for that because we want the illusion of something that sounds like we want to expect it to sound. It's a strange phenomenon, you know, and it's like one of those things, well, you don't sound like I want you to sound, so now I have something to go after you about.
I
All
think
right.
people are too worried about being PC and like, I'm offended. Okay. Being offended is not going to fucking kill you, people. Just putting it out there. Hey, guess what? Be fucking offended. Okay. I'm offended. I'm offended by your sure freaking offensiveness. Like that's
Right.
I'm pretty sure that President Washington told the king that he shall fornicate himself. Like, like there was a point in time where politicians didn't give a shit.
yeah, man.
I mean, we started a war for a 3% fucking molasses tax.
and now we're taxed to fucking death. So when
You know, and those things happen, you know, and those conversations do happen like that, you know, again, they're not on the
Yeah,
news.
man.
But like I said, it's this idea I think we just need to get out of political theater.
Yeah, we do.
And you know, we just need to get down to work and solving these issues, and you know, progressing, you know, making things happen, and then somebody comes and doesn't undo everything that you've done and builds upon it.
They're
And-
gonna
and just-
completely undo it.
Real quick, for those that were
Completely.
listening
gotta
and
get out
not
of this
watching, and you heard this sound that you could not identify, that was Kat trying to get her fucking cherry out of her
I
glass.
can't get the
Right next to the microphone with her metal straw.
I still
So
haven't
it's just
gotten
like,
it.
clink,
I
clink, clink, clink,
still
clink.
have not gotten it. You better end the show, man. I want my cherry.
So yeah, we do
Kat,
need
I
to be
appreciate
wrapping
you
up.
using a metal straw. That's good for the environment.
You're welcome.
So
Figured I should say
Gene-
something like that.
we definitely appreciate you being on the show and you just reaching out to be here, especially as a former guest. It means a lot to us. As we're wrapping it up, is there any final take that you want to throw out there?
Something we can put it on a t-shirt. Give it to
Yeah,
us.
no, I
The
just
perfect
no, I
soundbite.
appreciate I appreciate the forum, and you know, you let me come on here. You know, anyone can learn more. They can go to forthepromiseofamerica.com, and that's got you know, some of my position on there. And then on Facebook, you can look up Gene Sticco for President of the United States. And I've done my best to spell out a lot of policy ideas and give some details and strategies and measurable criteria and all the rest of it.
Wait, you're going to take political stances? You are not a politician, sir.
You know, my idea is to put out policy and put out ideas, and along with that, to have timelines and measurable criteria by which I can be judged.
Oh, shit.
No. No, that's not allowed.
That makes too much sense to be American.
Man, I kind of want to throw the invite out. I'd like to have you on again to just do kind of a follow-up, see how things are going, and definitely I just feel like we didn't get to finish our conversation.
Follow you on the campaign trail, if you will. Let's
Yes.
do that.
And we had a
We should
question.
get a
Say the
bus.
website one more time.
It's forthepromiseofamerica.com or just genesticco.com.
GeneSticco.com or forthepromise.com.
Or
For the promise of America.
America.com, weirdo.
I got it all fucked up. Message it to me. I'm gonna put on the Facebook page tomorrow. But if you are out, just like every week, if you are out drinking, make sure that you find a sober ride home. Stay the fuck home and drink, or just crash where you're at. Not crash your car, crashes and go to sleep if it's legal to do so there. We definitely want to see you next week at the Same Beer Time, Same Beer channel. Don't forget, you can check out all of our old episodes on YouTube or any of your favorite podcasting platforms.
On behalf of us and the listeners, thank you, Gene. I won't talk about finger blasting the like button while you're on here.
Or tongue punching that share button's fart box.
But thank you for coming on. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Y'all have a great night.